Guys, welcome to another episode of WoW Weekly with Myst. And for this week, we have Time Walking. It'll be Legion. PvP Brawl is going to be Cooking Impossible. Lunar Festival is still going on, and that will last all the way to February 7th. And then, of course, the big major event this week is that patch 10.0.5 is going to release on Tuesday. And speaking of Tuesday, there will be quite a bit of downtime. So the servers won't be back up until 3 p.m. Pacific for NA players, of course. And I will be streaming that day, but, because servers won't be up for a while, it'll definitely be an evening stream. Okay, so I figured we would start by going over everything that's going to be available in the 10.0.5 patch. Not everything will be available right off the bat, though, and I'll let you know what those are. So the major feature would be the trading post, so we'll start there. So the trading post is one new feature that will be available in 10.0.5. This feature allows you to earn Trader's Tender, which is a currency that you obtain monthly, kind of like a battle pass, and you can get some pretty cool stuff on the vendor that rotates out every month. And basically, just by logging in and heading over to the trading post, you'll get 500. So it's pretty easy. And then to gain more than that 500, you just do some activities. They're all listed on the traders post. And that's how you get your extra 500. 1,000 is your cap for the month. And if there's something that you want, but because 1,000's the cap, you can't get it, you can actually put it at the bottom and kind of lock it in for the month and get it the next month. Or whenever you can. I do believe you could just kind of keep it locked in until you're ready. So, but I would try to get it as soon as possible because, the next month there might be something you want to lock in instead. So that is, the trading post pretty much. So you can get transmogs, pets, mounts. As far as where is it? For Alliance, it's over in Stormwind. Just outside the Mage district, and then for Horde, it's out in Orgrimmar, and it'll be near Gromesh Hold. Next up, we have the Storm's Fury event. So this is very similar to our current invasion event that we have with all the elements. So it will take place every 5 hours in the Primalist future. So you will have to take that portal that's out there to get to it in Valdrakken. And you can get items that can be exchanged for 385 gear, very much like what we got going on right now. This will be rings, trinkets, and neck, which is kind of what we're missing, right? Because right now we can get armor type stuff. So that's very cool. There's also a cache containing some storm sigils. There'll be a new mount. It's called the Sky Skin Hornstrider mount that you can obtain. And then also there's a pet. It's called the Time Lost Vorkin pet. Also, there's a bunch of class changes. I am going to screenshot them on screen right now. Feel free to pause, check out your class and the changes involved in it. And so let's move on to the next topic. And that would be just a couple of little hotfixes here having to do with creatures and NPCs and stuff. Again, you can, pause on screen, read through it. There's also some changes to Trial of Style. So there will be some additional cosmetics that you can get through there. And Lunar has a Elder of the Dragon Isles achievement. So you can get that by honoring the elders located out at the Dragon Isles. Group loot has some fixes to it, and we're also going to have the revival catalyst. So this is where you can turn gear into your tier pieces, and this is done through the vault, M+, raids, PvP, and tier 2 storms, tier 2 war mode, and world bosses that have dropped the corresponding type of gear. To get to the catalyst, you're going to travel to the northern side of Tierhold out in Valdrakken, and there'll be a revival catalyst. It's next to an NPC called Antuka. So basically, each week an account-wide quest is going to be available. It awards you a charge to the revival catalyst. So you just progress towards this quest. And it requires players to complete like raid, M+, PvP, or world content. And this can be done on a single character or combined across the board on multiple characters that you have. Completion will award a separate charge for each character on the account that includes any characters that get created in the future. And the total number of charges that can be stored for an individual character is currently capped at 6. So if a character vendored, disenchanted, or destroyed a Dragonflight Season 1 item that you want to use for this system, you can actually go to the WoW item restoration page and get it back so that you can, use it for this. Also, Greys. Greys can now be transmogs. So this is something we knew about for a while. They were hinting in Shadowlands. And this is the patch that brings that in. So if you've been holding on to all your Greys, you can finally let loose on those Greys, get some of your bag space back. And if not, then you can go hunting them. I had no choice. I had to let the Greys go for a bit because it wasn't even a matter of I didn't want to hold on to it. It was more a matter of I couldn't. You guys have seen my inventory space. I am lucky if I have 5 spare spots most days. Enchant illusions can now be applied onto artifact weapons. There's going to be a new toy. It's called the reusable oversized bobber. You get it by catching 100 fish with the oversized bobber. And then the toy version supports all bobbers in your toy collection and will automatically work with new bobber editions. So that's very cool. I like that one. Former new character starter equipment has returned and can be found at vendors in Stormwind and Orgrimmar. Pay a visit to the local shop relevant to your armor type, and that's, who will have your shit. Polearms from Shadowlands and Dragonflight have been adjusted to sit lower on the player's back, so just a little, convenient add-in there. They fixed an issue that prevented the lightning visual effect from appearing on some mythic class set and elite PvP items. And they also fixed an issue that would cause some players to not be able to purchase the Explorer League banner toy that you get through the Dragon Scale Expedition at rank 19. And then also they fixed an issue that would cause no options for Demon Hunters, and Rogues on the quest Mysteries in the Paper and the Glass from Guiara at rank 25 with the Valdrakken. Mage Tower. The Mage Tower has returned. I thought it just kind of stayed, but I guess it must have left again when Shadowlands ended. Because it was brought in, and then they decided, I remember they brought it in for time walking, and then it would go away with Legion time walking, and then they decided they were going to keep it permanently, so they brought it back, and then it must have vanished again. I haven't been to the Mage Tower in a bit, but it is back, so it has returned, and you can go do your challenges for all the, rewards that are exactly the same as they were in Shadowlands. And of course the Spell Tomb mount if you don't have that yet. you will need to be level 70. Well, they say it's recommended level 70, so it's possible you can do it less than level 70. But I would definitely go with their recommendation of being 70. Usually if they're recommending, it means it's gonna be pretty fucking tough under 70. I'm sure there's some scaling that's gone in on the Mage Tower. Warmode can now be toggled on while you're in Valdrakken. I like this change. I think this is a good change. I hate having to always go to Stormwind to like toggle it on or off. There's been some changes with solo shuffle. So the rating will be calculated per round in game with levers. Matchmaking value for each player in a match will be displayed on the scoreboard. A warning prompt will display the penalties for leaving if a player attempts to leave a match, and players who leave successfully will be subject to an account review and suspensions, as abandoning matches repeatedly is a violation of the terms of service via exploiting punctuality to the detriment of the game environment and the intended player experience. I'm very surprised in that one. Yeah, good though, good. You know, like I get it if like sometimes the system kind of like makes you leave once in a while, right? Like I've had times in like a dungeon. I've never felt the need to leave during like a PvP raided or anything, but there's been times in a dungeon where you hop in and they're literally killing the last boss, and you did nothing, and then you leave and you get deserter. It's like I had no choice but to leave. The dungeon was done. It brought me in last minute. I think there's some situations where the system needs some improvements, but it is nice to see that they are, also being a little more strict, but there are definitely some situations where it could be less strict. I hate getting deserter when literally I walk into a dungeon that has no bosses to kill. Or there was one time where I walked into a dungeon and the tank and heals, which were buddies, took 10 plus minutes to like port into the dungeon because they were like off doing a quest. I remember I ended up leaving that one because I was like, fuck, I don't know how long they're going to take. They've already taken 10 minutes. That's already longer than my patience level, can handle most days. But anyway, a little off track there. Professions has some changes. I'm just going to screenshot it on screen. Feel free to pause and check on it. I'm still a little iffy about professions. I'm still not really liking the crafting orders. I couldn't be bothered. I hate that there's an achievement attached to that. On screen, we also have some user interface and accessibility changes. And a few things regarding the WoW Companion app. So they added an item tooltip to the auction house purchase confirmations. They fixed some issues with the auction house battle pad filtering and display. And then they also fixed an issue preventing some players from viewing their characters. And that basically is what's going on for 10.0.5. For those wondering about seasons, it's a half patch. Season is staying the same, so you still got tons of time to get your M+ mount, your PvP seasonal mount, and your raids done and all that. Okay, so we have some new transmogs that you're gonna see on the trading post. This is the Operatives Bandolier, Infiltrators Bandolier, Iridescent War Cloak, a Vagabond's Rosy Cape, and the Wanderer's Rosy Cloak. Voidbound Cloak, Voidbound Drape, Voidbound Shroud, and the Voidbound Great Cloak. Here is a list of the Worgen starting gear appearances. And so this will be available in 10.0.5. And as you can see, there's the Druid, Hunter, Mage, Priest, Rogue, Warlock, and Warrior in the list there. There's also the Goblin starter gear appearance as well. Hunter, Mage, Priest, Rogue, Shaman, Warlock, and Warrior. And there's also the Pandaren Wandering Isles starter zone gear that will be transmogable in the new patch. So there's a couple of different sets here. So the first set is obtained when you do the first portion of the Wandering Isle storyline, which the quest is the Disciples Challenge. And then there's a second set, which is obtained on the second portion of that storyline. It's the one where you earn friendship with the elemental spirits and you approach the Temple of Five Dawns. The quest is called The Spirit and Body of Shenzhen Su. And then there's a third one, which is the third part of that storyline. And that's when you're like dealing with Shenzhen Su getting hit by an airship. The quest is called The Healing of Shenzhen Su. And then, of course, once you've completed all of the quests over there, there's a bunch of weapon transmogs you can get. So this is the Flameheart crossbow, the Jade crossbow, Dagger of the Master, Dagger of Silent Flame, Dagger of the Hosen, Jade Hilted Dagger, Mace of the Master, Humble Cudgel, Sword of the Hosen, Shield of Blazing Will, the Jade Shield, Staff of the Master, Staff of the Hosen, Sword of the Burning Spirit, and then the Jade Hilted Sword. Also, there's going to be some Shadowlands base legendary pieces that will be transmogable in 10.0.5. These pieces grant the mythic versions of the gear awarded from the Sanctum of Domination raid, no matter which rank the piece is crafted at. And they are warning people that it's worth noting that although these pieces do match the Sanctum of Domination set, they do not grant credit towards the Dominating the Catwalk achievement, which is the achievement you get for collecting like the full armor set for Sanctum of Domination. Here is some transmogs that will be available on the trading post. So this is the Sun Warden set and the Moon Warden set. And it's actually given to you for earning the monthly special reward from the trading post 12 times. So I guess that'll take you a year. So it'll be a while. But just thought I would mention that if you focus the special reward every month, there is this ensemble set called Burden of Unrelenting Justice that you'll get. Just a little side note for changes, but there has been a Nvidia Reflex low latency mode coming in Dragonflight, so you may see that in 10.0.5. You just go into your interface settings and it will be right in the low latency mode. You'll see disabled, built in, and then there's like Nvidia Reflex, and then there's Nvidia Reflex plus boost. On the topic of bugs, there was a bug. There's been a couple of bugs this week that we'll go over. One's in Classic, so it'll be later on in the video. But this one is for retail. It has to do with cooking. So basically, currently, I'm not totally sure if they fixed it yet. There's been no news on a fix yet, so I don't think so. But currently there's a bug when you craft assorted exotic spices and pebbled rock salts that only affects players with max level cooking. So normally when you're crafting these items, you have a chance to make like 2 to 3 items per craft. If you're familiar with engineering, it's similar to like the handful of Ceravite bolts where it would be multiple per craft. And if you're a lower level chef, it works as intended. But if you're like max level cooking, you immediately stop receiving the ×3 procs. So you'll only ever craft 2 of those items. So yeah, currently the only real workaround for this problem is to have cooking on a couple of characters. One character be the dedicated chef while the other acts as a crafter for the 2 intermediate reagents. One interesting fact I found with this is that despite the crafting speed being listed as a stat in the cooking recipes and the cooking equipment, providing extra crafting speed, that stat does not affect the cooking speed of the craft. So like a player with 49% crafting speed is gonna craft at the same speed as a player with like 18% crafting speed. Yeah. So yeah, but there is the chef's hat, so I guess he could use that. And if you don't have the chef's hat, it's still available in game. It's through daily quests. It'll take you a bit. It costs 100 Epicurean awards. Another thing I thought I'd mention that we found out this past week because the final wing of the LFR opened up. So we discovered that you can get the Razageth Skin on LFR mode. So if you are looking to get that, which to be honest is the prettiest fucking Drake skin. Yeah. they're all kind of cool, but nothing beats the Razageth one. So that is the renewed Proto-Drake embodiment of the Storm Eater, and yeah, you can get that on any difficulty. Now, sometimes they change things with LFR, where you'll be able to obtain it in current in LFR, and then like when the expansion's done, they like remove it. So this is the time to try to get it while it is available, because there's no given that it'll stay available in LFR once the expansion's over. So yeah, but for now you can get it in the LFR mode. As far as drop rate, it seems to be roughly 5 to 10%. And then the last piece of retail news that I have for you guys, although this could just be Blizzard news really, but that is the new 6-month sub. So there is a new sub bonus. You can get a cute little bunny pet over in Classic. This is it here. And then also for retail, you can get the mount, which is called the Jade Bright Forseer. The mount is okay, the last lunar mount was like that same color, so I guess it's like I know that's just the way it works, so it was bound to be blue. But I kind of would have just loved a mount that looked more like the pet, you know. But yeah, it's the only one. It's unique, It's the only bunny mount. So yeah. I do wish that the hoplet was over in retail though. The hoplet's so cute. But then I guess we have rabbits in retail. I don't know how many are available in classic, so there's always a retail item and a classic item. So it's like I guess they picked the right way, because I think the community would be much more pissed off if classic got the bunny mount and then retail got the pet. Yeah, so while we do miss out on the pet, I do think they did it the right way. Because retail players care way more about mounts than they do pets. So the average retail player anyway. So that calls it for retail news. I've got a bit of classic news for you guys. So the first bit of classic news is that there is a skip in Nex now. So basically, it's a skip to the Frostworm lair. So you'll be able to go directly to Saffron and Kel'Thuzad inside Nex now. And there's a teleport, so you just teleport to go there. Earlier, I was talking about funny bugs that have occurred. The classic one, this one made me laugh. I even put up a community post earlier in the week regarding it. But basically, what would happen is the Slaves to Serenite daily quest that you can do. As players would interact with it, they would lose 500 gold. And so many players, like 500 gold to some players is nothing, right? So they didn't really notice until they kept doing the daily, and every single time it would take another 500 gold, and then all of a sudden they started realizing that they were missing thousands of gold on their account. I just thought it was hilarious that this guy was just like taking 500 gold. Like, what a huge chunk of money to be taking. You know, it's nothing in retail, but 500, even with Wrath being easier to earn gold in, 500's still a good chunk, you know? So, yeah, I thought that was a pretty humorous bug. Okay, so that calls it for both retail and classic news. As far as my goals and my accomplishments, I didn't really have any for this week because last week you guys may have noticed that I was unable to do WoW Weekly last week. It's because I ended up sick with the flu for like a week. I got it from the roommate. I don't know where the roommate caught it from, but he was sick for like a week, and then all of a sudden I ended up with it. And yeah, so usually I don't get sick, and when I do, it's like for 24 hours. So this was such a weird one. It wasn't COVID or anything. Took the test and it was negative. So yeah, it was just a flu, but worse than the common cold. Yeah, it just hit me really tough. But yeah, so because of that, I did play a lot of WoW, but I just hadn't really put any goals in. But for those that are unaware, because I don't really talk about like all my progression and all that a lot, I usually just talk about mediocre goals, right? But progression wise, I do raid like every Saturday and Sunday with my raid team. And we're doing pretty good progression wise. We just have Razageth left. And yeah. So that's cool. I have almost seen the full fight. I guess I could see it if I went and just did him on LFR. But yeah, so almost good there. And this week I've been working on the auto mount. So yeah, I'll be doing more of that actually tonight in stream. So if you want to come hang out, feel free. And then as far as streams are, you know, since we're kind of on the topic, I haven't really changed the stream schedule, but we're streaming more now. I want to stream like I was on Twitch a while back, and I used to pretty much do daily over there, and just if it was a busy day for me, I'd just make it a shorter stream, and if it wasn't, I'd make it a longer stream. Yeah, so I'm more or less trying to stream daily for you guys, but I do still edit a lot. And yeah, so you may see some extra streams. My goals this week is that it would be cool if we downed Razageth. But that one, it really depends on the team. None of us have made it to them before, so like this will be first progression on Razageth. And that's pretty much it. You know, Dragonflight's such a easygoing expansion. It's hard to really have a goals with it. You know, I felt with in Shadowlands and BFA there was just so much to do that like I had like 5 goals every week to accomplish. Yeah. So yeah, I guess it's just progression wise, you know, just progress on Razageth, do some M plus, PvP. Yeah, like yeah, it's pretty mediocre goals this expansion. So that concludes this video. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you have fun in patch 10.0.5, which launches on Tuesday for NA and Wednesday for EU. And there will be some downtime on Tuesday. And servers aren't scheduled to be back up till 3 p.m. Pacific. So yeah. And I'll be streaming that evening, but I don't know really what we're gonna do. Maybe some of the Storm event. The trading post won't be up yet. It doesn't come up till February 1st. So yeah. And that's all I got for you. So we will see you in the next video. Have a good one, guys. Bye.